So your name's coming up a lot. Reed Shippen was talking really highly yesterday on camera about the...
That's always nice.
Win 8s?
Yeah, the 228s.
228s.
Yeah. He's going to get some big ones tomorrow.
But people always come to me and go, Warren, you're in 50,000 places at once, and how do you do all these things? And then I've started thinking, yeah, but it's always Maurice, and I was talking to Maurice, and Maurice drove me down and played his speakers, and this happened, and so are you cloned?
We're trying. We're making the effort, yeah. I mean, the guys in the UK, because before I was over in the US, I was over in Europe all the time.
Oh, okay.
So I ran basically the pro department throughout Europe, set up the distributions there, but also dealt directly with all the major studios.
Right.
And that was prior to 2005 when I moved here the first time.
Right.
And then moved back in 2008. I came back here in 2010 again, and I have been here since. But my problem is indeed that I am trying to be at every place at the same time.
You seem to be doing it at the moment.
I mean, the miles that I gather flying around all the time, yes, that's a lot.
You're the executive
Well,
platinum
1 year,
club.
140 flights, so that'll tell you.
That's not
And
bad.
that's why people throughout the country can say, hey, Maurice did this, Maurice did that. But actually, I must say, it's not just me anymore. The company has grown like so big in a way, in a really good way, that we have a great team of people. We have like locally here our own office and our own studio. Jordan is part of the team here. We have the same setup obviously on the West Coast with our own offices there, the head office, the warehouse, and then dealing directly with that market. And a little scoop, we're moving the East Coast now. So we're going to set something up there as well.
Great.
So that's that part. But the reason why we're always out there is because we don't like shipping boxes. We want to just go there, set it up, make sure it sounds the way it's supposed to sound in the environment that they're in. Right. And then when you do that, you let people work with it, because at the end of the day, it's a tool. Right. And once they work with it, they'll find out what it does for them.
Great.
So it's not about me, it's about the product.
I'm
just a carrier. I'm just bringing them in and putting them down.
No, but there's a lot of really good products and everything. Speakers, guitars, amplifiers, picks, whatever, strings, you name it. There's good products.
Yeah, walk around the show floor.
Exactly, walk around the show floor. But what separates why I get behind stuff is like when I work with people that treat us with respect, so that I know that when I can recommend it to people, that they feel really, really good. That's why I'm talking to you.
Yeah,
all right, so
I like it.
I'm talking these. How much are these a pair?
$29.50 a pair. We launched those actually. We launched them at the end of last year. We started shipping them at the beginning of the year in February. It's a complete new design. People think like, hey, you have the 226s, similar size.
Sure.
We just took a bit of this or that and put it together. No, actually not. We had the 22 series for like 4.5 years.
Right.
All the information, knowledge, everything that we got out of that, we utilized to figure out, okay, is there a way for us to build an entry-level model to get people into the PMC family, which indeed is a brand new system, completely new design. There's no parts in this speaker that is being used in any of the other systems. It really has been built from scratch. The performance for that price level, has been, based on the feedback that we have gotten, astonishing. We have moved a lot of them already.
$3,000 is $3,000.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money,
Absolutely.
But it's definitely like you're starting off with your $500 to $1,000 speakers. This is the first time I think anybody can get into something of this kind of high level quality.
It is, and it's also, I will tell you that immediately, we can't go any lower. It still is a product hand-built in the UK, not in the Asian countries, shall we say.
Yeah.
It's the way we go about this product. It's done by the same guys that build the big ones that are building the small ones.
Yeah, no, I love that.
We like to pay people living wages and insurance and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So we stand for the product. So for us to actually come down to this level is remarkable, and this is where it's at. We can't go any lower, because then it's just not sustainable.
Well, I'm very interested.
Yeah, no, I mean, your good friend Spike is working on them right now.
Yeah, and he's working on these.
On these now. He had the 226s as well, and we dropped off a couple of weeks ago one of those. And
Bob Marlett has the twin 8s, doesn't he?
Yeah.
The 228s, yeah. And I've been tracking with him the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So we're using those every day.
You know, so for us, it's all about, you know, people finding the tool that works for them. We're just building tools, nothing else, you know, and hey, you have a hammer, you have a hammer. Can be two different hammers.
All right, I'm here with Alan Hyatt from Trident. How are you?
Nice to meet you. Pleasure.
Nice
I'm
to
good.
meet you
Yourself?
too. Excellent.
Good.
So I stopped because I saw this.
Ah, our little secret.
So is this new?
Actually, this is fairly new. This is a 500 version of the Trident A-Range EQ. It's actually been redone to the exact specification of the original Trident A-Range. And as you know, the A-Range came right after the A series of consoles back in the 60s and 70s and really made just tremendous hits within the industry. And so we've been really, you know, getting a lot of call for that type of an EQ. There's been a few manufacturers that tried to replicate it, but never really got it to the exact point that we've been able to do it. So this has been shipping now for just a few months. It's $849, so it's priced really well, and it is a 2-space module, so it's going to take two module widths in your rack. But it uses the solder transformer like the original A-Ranges, and all the circuitry is absolutely the same. And it is a true deal.
Beautiful. Yeah, I was really excited to see it. And what you're saying is about $800?
$849.
$849. Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it's a big part of the sound, and so I was quite excited when I stopped and saw it. So what do you got console-wise here? There's a couple of...
Yeah. Well, what we did was we basically decided the ADB was a very popular console.
Particularly in this town.
Particularly in this town.
Yes.
And so we modeled the Trident 78 series after the ADB, using the original ADB EQ circuit and the same summing circuit out of the ADB.
My good friend Cameron Webb has one and loves it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, what we've done is we've taken the summing portion of the Trident and the EQ portion of the Trident. We've changed the mic preamplifiers. It's still a Class A discrete mic pre, but it's different than the original mic pre. And all the circuitry is using the latest technology and components that are available out there. So everything is consistent through the board. So I'm sure if you went to Cameron and said, hey, which 2 channels are your favorite, he'd be able to pick it out. And that's because of the inconsistency of the old technology of the components. But today they're more precise. So every channel you do is going to be exactly like the other one. This comes in 4-way modules. It's modular, but it comes in 4-way, and it has a little bit less features than does our 88 series. So if we move over to the 88 series, this is designed after the 80C console, a little bit close to the TSM console, if you will, which Addiction, by the way, in town has a big TSM. And we actually did some A/B-ing between it and this console, and the similarities are striking when you listen to them. But this is modeled after the 80C EQ, so it's a 4-band sweep EQ. And it gives you added features and also the availability of everything being modular. So being modular, reliability is really strong, serviceability is really easy. So this is our 16 input, which is a split bus, as it is also an inline console. So with that, and the 8 stereo effect returns and the 8 groups, this actually gives us the ability to mix 56 inputs to the 2 bus, and all of the inputs have EQ.
What is this retailing at?
This starts at $25,000 for this configuration, where the same configuration in the 78 is $17,000.
Oh wow!
So there's about a 35% difference between the two. And there's a lot of options here. You can have transformers for the mic pre, transformers for the groups, transformers for the main and master out, and transformers for all the direct outs. The other option, standard, comes with the LED meter bridge. The VU meter bridge is an option. Fader automation is also an option. But at $25,000 starting price, if you look at the competition in other 16 input
Where's
ports,
this built?
Gardena, California.
Nice.
Designed in the UK by an original Trident chief engineer, made in America.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate it.
Adios, guys.
So about 5 years ago, I couldn't get into my own personal studio, and I So I had a little setup at home in those days. Actually, it was longer than 5 years ago. God, I'm feeling old. It's about 10 or 12 years ago. Now I'm thinking about it as where I used to live. Anyway, I called up Hunter Crowley, who's round badge for anybody that's on Gear Sluts, and he has everything. And I say, I've got to cut a vocal at home, and I can't get in my studio. In fact, I can't even pull any pre's from there. So he goes, I got the best vocal pre you're ever going to hear in your life. And it was that original Day King, which was the vertical one. And so I was just raving about it to you, and you said, well, we have one, and it's this.
Yeah, it's called the Mic Pre EQ now, and it's essentially the same device. It's built the same way, same circuit design.
Perfect.
This was essentially a mic input channel off of a console, right?
Wow.
That's what you were looking at right there.
Yeah.
And he's tried to repeat all that same feature set using inductors on the EQ, just like the original, trying to keep it as clean as possible. And the big thing about these that was so different was they had real high headroom. They had like plus 24.
That was
so
amazing.
They're really hard. They've become a big favorite of a lot of drummers.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of big drummers that like Day King pre's because of the big headroom.
Well, I had this I couldn't even get a decent mic. Well, it's unfair. So I got an Audix, like a $500-600 large diaphragm Audix. And it went through that, and it's seriously the best vocal sound I've ever had. And I then tried to buy Hunter's, and he wouldn't sell it to me.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't like, is that one special, you know?
Yeah.
But then I spoke to Joe Barresi a couple of years ago and told him that same story, and he said, no, that's the best mic pre I've got. So, so it's exciting. How much are these?
Oh, this is just like about, it's like $1,500 from a dealer. They're not real expensive.
For something which is arguably one of the best sounds. Now, is it A-range-ish? What's the...
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole story...
We're allowed to say that?
Yeah, well, not, because, of course, that trademark belongs to another company, but the whole idea was that Jeff's favorite console was a Trident console, A-range.
Right.
Jeff Dakins. So he liked that better than anything else, and he was around right in the days when they were shutting down production. And the story goes that one of the guys he's friends with gave him the schematics for all of the A-range stuff. So he started from that and built his own stuff. And so a lot of the values of the A-range is the things that Jeff also thought were really great and tried to carry forward in his own gear. So, and of course, when you think about this stuff came out in the early, late 80s, early 90s, and at that time you couldn't even buy you couldn't even get a Neve mic pre. You had to buy it as parts. And build your own power supply and all that.
Sure.
So this all predates the time when you could buy mic pre's as standalone items. So he's made a little single channel version.
I just saw that in the corner of my eye. So
So this is same circuit design, no EQ, right? Class A, transformer input, Jensen transformer on the input, but this one incorporates a feature that's really good for people that are working at home or people that are on the road with a variable high pass filter. That's basically 10 to 200. Because so many people have all this low end. You have all this low end that you don't even know is there maybe. And it's chewing up your headroom or it's causing you problems. So that's a very useful piece. We do a demo that shows quite frequently where you show how to clean up a guitar with a simple variable high pass.
Very important, variable high pass. It's rather beautiful. All right, let's talk about something I've never talked about.
Sure.
The Better Maker.
Yeah, well, this is really an interesting story. This guy, his name is Marek, and he's from Poland, and he's a mixing engineer.
From Poland, my wife's from Poland.
Yeah, well, there you go. So he is the first guy that I've seen. For a long time, I've been wanting to get analog gear that was controllable via plug-in or digital control. No one could ever seem to be able to do it except this guy who developed the first devices I've seen that actually work correctly. They're truly analog in and out. There's no digital anything going on inside the box. All analog. And he started out with basically a 4-channel EQ, where he built half of it like a Pultec and the other half like a traditional parametric.
Wow.
Something that would be, you would use the way George Massey would use an EQ, right? So the idea was to build one that had the two best parts of EQs, and then make it controllable via plug-in and have it set up so that as you're working, you can save your EQ to a track. Or you can save a setting to the front panel. There's over 300 memories right here. And you can save it to a non-volatile memory right inside the unit, or in the track within Pro Tools. And it uses MIDI language to talk to these modules. So now we have sort of a Pultec type EQ and a 500 module stereo. We have a parametric type that's in a module. We have a compressor, and now this is a new mastering limiter right here. You see, all controllable via plug-in. So it's sort of the way to bridge between digital and analog.
Fantastic.
So you get that analog sound, but you work like you're used to.
It's amazing.
So everybody, we do best with this with the top level guys who are actually working and need are motivated
Full
for the memory.
recordability,
They need that because they're working with multiple clients, so that's what drives them there. But then they end up staying with it because it sounds good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's doing very well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I really appreciate
Nice to meet you, Warren.
Hello, I'm here with Dave Hintze.
That's correct.
Yay!
Nice to meet you.
He did school me on how to pronounce it.
Wonderful.
So, first of all, I want to talk to APIs, so it's always a good excuse. Okay, but secondly, you have a new toy, and the new toy involves me being able to play guitar.
Yes, this is true. So this is the API Transformer GT. We offer both the GT and the LX. GT is designed for guitar, LX is designed for bass.
Right.
Basically look at it as a channel strip for your pedal board, which is
Nice.
awesome. So you have 2520 op amp and transformer like all of our preamps. So you have preamp gain, you have output level, you have a 6-way selector for compression based on presets from our 527, and that's foot switchable. And then you also have a 3-band EQ, foot switchable as well.
Nice.
The only difference between the GT and the LX is the frequency range for the instrument. So this one's obviously tuned more for guitar, that one's more for bass. So,
Can I hear it?
Absolutely.
So in layman's terms, what's it going to do? What greatness is it going to do?
So you can use it at the front of your pedal board or at the back of your pedal board before the amp. And what it'll do is it'll give you the best possible signal to either your front of house or to your amp, which is great for recording, great for sessions, but also great for making some really great sounds. So right now, what you're hearing is the sound of the guitar straight through the amp. And you can dial that in the way that you prefer to hear it. So right now what you're hearing is just the sound of the guitar and the amp.
Great.
We hit the bypass switch and disengage that. Now you're hearing the sound of the preamp and the output level.
Nice.
If you really want to give it some extra gain to get a little more breakup, you can here as well.
Oh, I love the low mids. That's gorgeous.
Fantastic. So we bounce that out a little bit more, give you a little less gain, a little more level output. This is all based off the 550A.
Nice. How much is this?
So the MSRP on this one is $579. Street is $492. And then of course you have your compression circuit as well.
That's what I want to hear.
So you have light compression. That's set at 3, gives you a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
2 and 3 are the sweet spot for me as a guitar player. That's a set it and forget it. I just leave it on my board at all times.
Is it fixed threshold?
Yes.
It's great.
Very articulate, very musical, just like the rest of our 500 series.
So what is the circuit on the compressor?
Circuit on the compressor. Let's double check with Mark on that
Is it
one.
like a 525?
Oh yeah, it's got a 525 op amp and a transformer built into it. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Also has XLR out, so if you want to send a dry signal straight to the board, you can. So this will be, when you hit the bypass, it actually cuts off that circuit because it bypasses everything just to the 1/4 inch in and out.
Beautiful.
But if you want to run a parallel signal, you can. So
Excellent.
I like to use that for like in a live setting. I like to, when I'm using in-ear monitors, which I hate to do with electric guitar, I'll send a dry signal to my front of house guy, and I'll have both my amp signal and my dry signal in there together. It's kind of give me a little bit.
Very cool
more
indeed.
room. So
Excellent. Well, thank you.
Thanks for your time.
I'm with Jonathan Pines, everybody. Remember him?
Hey, Warren Hewitt.
Jonathan Pines.
We are here on the floor of the 2018 Summer NAMM show, having fun.
I want to say hi to everyone at Produce Like a Pro.
There's loads. Turn the camera around. We've got Christian Vey, everybody. Woohoo! Look, Andrew normally has a wax moustache, but he didn't do it. Now, Andrew, film Eric. Look at Eric's hair. Yay! That's why we were late this morning. Look at that hair. All right, so.
So I'm with Rupert Neve Designs, and I want to show everyone at home some new
Rupert
things.
who?
Rupert Neve.
Rupert Neve. I've heard that name. Look,
He's right here.
come here. The man himself, the man, the myth, and the legend. You know what's funny? My favorite
He's
guitar
taller in
amp.
person, as you guys might notice. He's taller in person.
My favorite guitar amp and guitar sound when I was a kid, still is, was Tony Iommi's guitar sound on the very first Black Sabbath album, using a Laney amplifier made by Laney himself. I can't remember his name, first name. Sorry, Mr. Laney. Using
A partridge
transformer made by.
Designed and built by Rupert Neve.
So there's definitely a good correlation here.
Rupert talks about his original Transformers as being not very accurate, but people seem to really like them. So that was in an orange, it was in a Laney, it was in a Hyatt.
Yeah, very
The
nice.
original partridge.
I love those Laney amps.
And
yeah.
and that's an interesting seg because one of the things that's been near and dear to Rupert's heart the entire time is Transformer design.
Right.
Proper Transformer design. And a lot of people use things that he has done, but they don't have the technical knowledge and the finite detail to make it. Transformer art is really an art. It's metallurgy, it's how it's wound, it's the materials,
Beautiful.
It's the cookbook of what the metal actually is. These are complicated things that truly affect the way it sounds. The way steel distorts, the way iron distorts, the way nickel distorts. These
This is
are
all really
changes.
smart stuff, way above my head. But I trust you.
But the composition of these things actually matters, and that's why Transformer design is almost a last art at this point in time.
Well, let's
Now,
go and check out some stuff.
Let's look at some new stuff.
Walk this way,
Excuse
Bannon.
I want to show everyone at home a new product from us. This is an 8-channel Dante-enabled remote-controlled mic preamp. So what does that mean? That means 8 great Rupert Neve mic preamps, and we're willing to take the top off our stuff. We want to show you guys the guts of what we do. So Class A transformer-based microphone input right here. You've got 2 power supplies, metal grade backup power supplies, backup Dante ports. You've got the ability to put this on a Dante network anywhere in a large facility connected with Cat5, could be a mile apart, and be able to remote control and choose the gain, the phase, all the typical things, high pass filter, all the things that you would normally want to be able to choose from any point in time. But for the first time, you have the sound of Rupert Neve in a digitally based box. So this has 8 mastering grade converters, and again, the first time you've seen from Rupert Neve, mastering grade, actually first ADD design from him in the first place. So very cool thing. This is sort of the start of a new direction for some things for us, because this is a live product or house of worship product or school product. This is, big scale arenas. This is where you're going to see this. You're going to see this a lot on tours. You're going to show up for a lot of some of your favorite tours. People are going to add them into their digital consoles because it'll show up right in the console. It is gain compensation. So what's gain compensation? In the past, you would split the signal with a transformer or an active split, and you'd send it to the front of house and you'd send it to the monitor console, right? So whatever the monitor console did, it didn't matter. It didn't affect the front of house and vice versa. He turns up the gain on his mic preamp, no problem. Doesn't affect the feed to the monitors or the in-ears at all. No problem. In the modern world, now we have digital consoles. We don't have splits. They just send the same, they send it out over the network and it appears in 2 places. So what happens when the monitor guy is looking at what's going on and sees, oh my gosh, I'm getting too much input level here. Preamp's going in distortion. I'm going to turn it down. Well, suddenly the front of house guy goes, what happened? I just went down 4 dB. What went on here? So in a gain compensated preamp, as you turn up one output, it automatically turns down, or vice versa, so that it keeps the other output at the same level, no matter what you do to the other one. So whoever's driving, if the monitor console is driving or the front of house is driving, it makes sure that they're not negatively affecting the other person. And that's a critical thing. It's a small point, but it's very critical for front of house these days. We're very thrilled about this product. It's going to start shipping directly. Unusually, because almost all of our products have no pads, this one actually has a pad, but without the pad, it takes plus 32 input on the input side. With the pad, it'll take up to plus 42. We have people who've been buying these only for the mastering grade converters even. Mastering engineers love it because they feel that it's a fantastic converter and they need it for 7.1 or 5.1.
How much else?
$5,995.
That's 8 micros.
Yeah, with 8 micros.
Nice.
So, you know, for the person at home, that's a lot of money. For the working professional to get 8 grade converters and 8 grade mic pre's, not a problem. And this is also designed to be full on. This is not designed to be super clean. This is designed to have attitude right from the get-go. So it has the weight, it has the sound, it has the tone that's classically associated with Rupert Neve and their studio preamps. And it's really the first time that the sound of the studio for Rupert Neve has come into live world. And that's really, we're very proud of that. Dual redundant Dante outputs, dual medical grade power supplies. Actually, you can put 2 different IACs and feed them from 2 different circuits entirely. So if you lose power in one leg, you've still got it.
Nice.
So now we might shift and talk about something else.
Something analog.
Something analog.
There we go.
So, for a long time, we've made a piece called the 5045. The 5045 is called the primary source enhancer. What it is, functionally, is a predictive adaptive noise gate that allows you to get somewhere between 4 and say 25 dB of additional gain in a live situation. So how is it doing it? It's not a VCA, it's not just a noise gate that's turning on and off. It's constantly looking at the input signal and deciding, among other things, does it have sinusoidal-based information? Because feedback is primarily sinusoidal, as opposed to actually music, which is more complex and has a much more complex waveform. It's also deciding what the frequency range and bandwidth are and making adjustments to this the entire time. And it's achieving this through some phase manipulation, not just a VCA turning on and off. Now, what does this mean for the end user? Okay, anytime you watch an NFL game, you're going to see or hear one of these at work. Anytime you go to a Broadway show, anytime you see a major touring act and the artist walks in front of a PA stack and you go, how is it possible it's not feeding back? Chances are really good they're using one of these. Now, we've had a lot of requests. We've had a long-standing relationship with Yamaha, and they've distributed through their commercial sound division the 5045. We've had
Nice.
a lot of requests to see it come in a different format. So we're introducing here the 545. Here you see it in the 500 format, which means that it's at a better price point. We've eliminated a couple of features that people don't use as much to try and focus in on the settings that everyone seems to use. And now we have this shipping here this month. The 545 allows the primary source enhancer to come to the user, and you can put 10 of them on a rack. Because this is something a little bit like Auto-Tune, that you want each one to be kind of set for each situation. In other words, you don't necessarily bus all the vocal mics together and run it through one of these. You want each one, depending on where it is in the node, the type of voice it has, the level, the complexity of the material it's presented with. In other words, how close it is to something that's feeding back to have its own control. So we usually see people have 2 or 3 of these in their racks. And so for the ability to be able to put 10 of them in one of our 10 racks is very exciting. Now, all of this is not the focus of usually what Produce Like a Pro talks about, because we're studio-oriented guys. But I wanted to share a little bit because everything is changing these days. The studio has come out of the studio and now is in live world, and vice versa. You see studio-grade stuff. We sell master bus processors, Shelford channels into big rigs all the time. So we have front of house people using all the great studio gear that want. And that was the impetus really for the RMP8.
We just did a 3-day masterclass at Blackbird, and tons of people from all over the world flew in, and there was a load of live guys there that are also studio guys. It's like the worlds have met.
The worlds have come together, and they're all mixed up now.
Yeah, it used to be all about live guys should never be in the studio and studio guys should never do live. Now it's all just one big happy family.
If you've ever seen the movie Ghostbusters, yeah, we're crossing the streams right now. This is happening in real time.
I'm glad you said that by using Ghostbusters as a reference.
Yes, that's a
when
very
you said
important
that phrase, crossing streams.
Yes, no editing that on its own, please. But literally, we see master bus in processors in lots of huge stores, and we see Shelford channels for the money channel. We sell literally thousands of DIs into the live world these days, in the studio world. We also are seeing a number of people summing. People like Andy Meyer and Toby Francis. Toby does, among other things, done Kanye, Katy Perry, lots of wonderful things like that. Andy Meyer does Justin Timberlake, and a host of other fantastic acts over the years. They all are using summing live, and trust me, it's a pain to bring a summing amp live or a summing rig live to use it with a live rig. It's much easier to just use your digital console, but they feel that the sound quality changes are worth it, and they're bringing studio grade gear out on the road to work with top level artists.
Great.
And we think that's pretty exciting from our perspective.
Excellent. Well, thank you, my friend.
Always a pleasure.
Good to see you.
Big love to everyone at Produce Like a Pro. Thank you for your support for Rupert, Neve, for SC Electronics, for Warren, for keeping the show going. We think it's a great show, and we think that we're thrilled every time we have a chance to talk to you and the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you.